All right, Jules, let's talk a little bit more Caicedo. I think first from the Brighton perspective, right?
Yeah.
You're in a situation where you're pushing for a Europa League spot, right? Champions League, 8 points. I it's tough, right?
It seems a bit far.
But and that will bring you income, that'll lift your profile, and so on. So I'm not necessarily surprised. You've already sacrificed Trossard.
Yeah, but that was on your own making.
On your own terms. But you decided okay,
Yeah.
we can, rather than having this issue in the summer, 18 months ago, whatever, this is good money for him.
Yeah.
I'm wondering with Caicedo, if for me, my thoughts on transfer fees. Increasingly, I don't want to be those old timers who say, "Oh, they're too high," blah blah blah. But there has to be a return, and the transfer fees go faster than revenues. Then, it doesn't make sense to spend these crazy numbers. People say, "Oh, it's what the market dictates." It's not what the market dictates, right? It is what somebody maybe mistakenly is willing to pay, right? Yeah. I can see why Caicedo makes sense for Arsenal. From Brighton's perspective, if you are looking at 70 million, again, with bonuses, and we don't know what, and plenty of reporting that Arsenal made another bid of 70 million, right? Is Caicedo going to bring you more than 70 million worth of value if he stays? Probably not, right?
I don't think they would sell him for more than... I don't think anybody would pay more than that, to be fair. They might want 100 million, 90 million, whatever they want. I don't think anybody would pay that for such a young player who has very limited experience and who wants to go as well. So,
what's the benchmark here, right? Because we're talking nearly Tchouaméni money.
Yeah.
For Caicedo, who, with all due respect to Caicedo, Tchouaméni, we agree, is a more complete player.
Yeah, and played in Europe, played in the Champions League.
Exactly,
games,
further along than Caicedo, right?
Definitely.
Should they let him go?
I think he wants to go. I think they're working on a replacement. I know there's not much time because we're recording the show on Monday morning. Tuesday night, of course, is the end of the transfer window. The thing I have is that Brighton's business plan and sort of the model of this club, what they tell every agent, every player, whether it's a young player, an older player, is we are a platform for you. We're going to develop your talent. We're going to showcase your talent. And then as soon as a bigger club comes with a good offer, we're going to let you go. You're never going to stay here for too long. This is just a stopgap for you. And then you go on to bigger things, greater things, and a bigger club. Look at what we did before with so, and so, right? If you don't let Caicedo go now, and it might be just a story of 4 months and then in the summer he goes, but still, the message is blurred. The message that you've given and that you've given to Caicedo, who was new agent by the way, and also to others that you try to sign is like, come to us, stay a little bit, become better. We're going to make you better, and then you can go to Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, wherever you want to go. If you start preventing those players to do that, to do what you promised them to do, then maybe next time, the next Caicedo goes like, well, I'm not sure, because Caicedo, you said you would let him go, but then when Chelsea and Arsenal came, you didn't let him go. And then we don't know what's going to happen in the summer. Maybe, which is what Caicedo is feeling, is like, okay, what if Chelsea and Arsenal are not there in the summer?
Because what if he gets injured?
Or what if he gets injured? What? So then he would have missed out on the big move that he wanted with more money. In his statement, he says, I'm one of 10 from a really poor background. As he let me take that money, let me go, and that's going to change my life and my family's life and generations, blah, 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 blah. So I think this is for Brighton maybe the issue in a bit. It seems like Tony Bloom was not happy maybe with the approach from Chelsea and Arsenal, and it's like, there's no way we're going to let him go now. But from a De Zerbi point of view, and maybe other people at the club, I don't know, Paul Barber or others, are thinking like, you know what, this money is huge. He clearly wants to go. This is also our business model here, let's be honest.
Right.
Even if we're competing for Europe, so we should let him go.
And De Zerbi is used to that from his time, of
exactly.
course. It's a swallow. When he came out and he said, well, he can stay and not play, I mean, that which seemed to be like what he was saying.
Yeah, it seemed to be.
That seemed a little bit over the top. Also, I think it's also borderline illegal.
Yeah.
To come out and do. I mean, okay, let's be clear on this. You obviously don't have to play a player, but you have to give them the same opportunities in terms of training and whatever.
Yeah,
there are rules there.
Yeah.
My favorite people in the world, lawyers, get involved. I
But for example, it's interesting that Brighton told Caicedo, okay, don't come, take a few days off until the end of the transfer window, and then you can come back. I mean, players have, like Anthony Gordon, for example, decided by himself not to turn up for training at Everton because he wanted to force the move. It's quite rare from a club to say to one of their players who is in that kind of situation, hey, stay home, don't come training, don't come playing, and then once this is all over, you can go back.
Yeah, I think though, I mean, they announced this after his post.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
which
so
I can totally understand because it would be a very disruptive situation.
Yeah.
I also wonder too, with all due respect to the FA Cup, and I think we saw from the lineup he put out. I mean, he put out a strong lineup, but it wasn't the strongest lineup. You kind of got the sense that, all right, we can live with this. It's Liverpool. Let us focus on the league. So it was almost like the right time for Brighton, to make the stand there. From an Arsenal perspective, to me, this makes, again, I don't like the fee, but it makes a ton of sense because you're getting somebody who's young, logical replacement for Thomas Partey going forward. Partey, by the way, he stayed generally injury-free this season. I think he missed 3 starts in the league. But his injury record isn't great, and he's getting older.
An injury against City on Friday night. It seemed to be a rib injury, which they're waiting to see.
And obviously, there's other issues with him that you can Google if you like. So it does make sense to. I mean, that is a position that they would have to strengthen. They're young everywhere. Maybe that midfield with Xhaka and Partey, they're by no means old, but there are people who are in their late 20s at this stage, right?
Yeah, and I think it gives you as well more options to play with a midfield, with a double pivot, for example, which they do a little bit now, depending on Odegaard's position. But you can do that. It would slot in so well. I think it makes sense for Chelsea too, by the way. Whether they go back for Enzo or not, even like Caicedo would improve that team massively and that midfield massively.
But with Chelsea, you have Conte and Jorginho on expiring contracts, right?
So it makes even more sense maybe for them, to be fair. It's just one of those. Maybe you can think it's a bit early, like you said, it's a lot of money, maybe. But I do think that he's that good that he would improve those two squads easily.
I go back, if you look at Everton's patterns of spending, you look at spending patterns around Europe. I don't think Everton are going to buy players from other Premier League, established players from other Premier League where it gets expensive, right? So they're going to...
Everton, no, Chelsea.
Sorry, Brighton, I meant, right?
Brighton,
Going forward, right?
Yeah.
So 70 million buys you a lot of players in the rest of Europe.
Yeah, especially on the market that they recruit from.
I think this is where you have to know Caicedo's personality. If Brighton take a hard line and say, no, we're going to talk about this again. Trossard already left. We're going to talk about this again in the summer. You have to know how he's going to respond. Is he going to sulk for 6 months? Or is he going to be even more motivated to show? And I don't know. Moises Caicedo. He seems like a nice, smiley guy, but who knows, right? So you're walking a very, very fine line. And the other thing, Tony Bloom, of course, is a guy who's a poker player, World Series of Poker.
Yeah.
He does the bluff. He does the double bluff.
He does.
As wonderful as Edu and those guys are, and Garlic as well, right?
Garlic, yeah.
I don't know. I'm imagining Tony Bloom across a poker table with Richard Garlic and Edu. My money would be on Tony Bloom. On the lizard,
Except
on the original
this is
lizard.
not poker.
It's
for a
not
club like
poker.
Brighton, 70 million is huge.
It is
for
a
someone
lot
you
of
bought for 3.
Yeah.
The profit is incredible.
Talk about capital gains there.
Exactly, of
Juve
course.
would love that. Juve could use that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.